Hello, this is a special podcast recording at Offshore Europe 23, and I'm delighted to be joined by our Chief Operating Officer, Rebecca Allison. Hi, Rebecca.
Hi, and good morning.
Good morning, and it's timely that you're joining us because today's a big day for you. You are announcing winners of a competition you've been running. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yep, our 2023 Open Innovation Programme comes to its final conclusion today, where we will announce the winners. So we opened the doors to our applications in January this year, and we received 143 applications in the digital space, looking at robotics, automation, digital platforms, and the usual sort of digital twins and all of that goes in the digital space. So we had a wide and varied application list, and we are now down to our winners, which we'll be announcing today.
Excellent. I look forward to hearing more about the winners when you're launching them into the world, so to speak. But I do want to shift gears a little bit, because in the centre you're more responsible for a really important part of the work that we do, which is emissions reduction and all the technologies aligned to that. Do you think we're actually on track as an industry to achieve our targets in emissions reduction? I know it's a hard question, but what's your view?
So it may be a hard question, and people might not expect this answer, but I would say maybe. I think we've made a great inroads. I think we've really opened up the opportunities. We've identified what needs to be done, but I don't think we're going fast enough. So sometimes when people talk to me about the technology lens and expect us to be, yes, we're there, we're going to get it, we're going to exceed our targets, I think we need to have a bit of a shift, and we really need to think about it and focus our efforts, because those targets are not that far away, and there's a huge amount of work needed to be done. But can we do it? Yes, but we need to really just get after it now.
And what about the other area that you're really all over, which is corrosion management? I mean, you're renowned in your focus on corrosion management. Emissions monitoring, corrosion management, big technology areas. What technologies are you still needing to fill gaps that you can see in the industry?
So it's always a topic for conversation, especially for myself. It's dear to my heart. Everybody knows that. And yeah, since a young graduate engineer, I went into that field. And have we really seen great changes? Not really. Yes, there's some technology. Adoption is really challenging. Getting that trial, tested, demonstration. We're still seeing that. So from sensors, we've got some on the stand here today to just showcase what has moved on, but also there's an opportunity to still look at that technology and hopefully get investment into these. They're always seen as sometimes not so exciting. They're a bit on the back burner. It's rusty pipe sometimes at the end of the day. But it's important, and we need to work at it, because not only for our industry, but every industry, everybody has corrosion, whether we like it or not. So we do need to look at the different technologies out there. But there's exciting and new and emerging ones. But as always, there's always work to be done.
Thanks for joining us, Rebecca. Have a good show. Hi, I'm here with David Wilson, who's Energy Director of the Energy Transition Zone in Aberdeen. David, I saw you passing. I thought I'd grab you because there's some questions I want to ask about the zone. You've been in the press a lot. What is the Energy Transition Zone?
Good morning, Stephen. It's great to be here. Thanks for the invite, pulling me onto your stand. So, Energy Transition Zone, well, our overall aim is to transform North East Scotland into an integrated energy cluster to pursue net zero. Want to be globally recognised. And it's really building on the skills, the capabilities of the companies, the people in the companies, our natural resources, the infrastructure that we have. And really, pull that together to make sure that North East Scotland has a real strong economic future, a growing future in the area of energy.
And everyone's talking about energy transition, especially in this show, lots of panels and conference papers. And a lot of the suppliers are talking about the business and how it's split between oil and gas and renewable energy. What's your feeling? Do you think we have a robust future when it comes to the supply chain?
We've got a really strong supply chain, Stephen. We've built a supply chain over 50 years. And the thing is, the supply chain, we're really good at pulling together complex projects and doing them in a harsh offshore environment. Whether that's oil and gas, we'll be doing that, with fixed platforms, floating structures. We can readily apply that to floating and fixed offshore wind, doing all the cool stuff around tidal and more things to come. Geothermal, for example, that needs us to drill wells. And what we've been doing here in North East Scotland and offshore for the last 50 years, we've been drilling wells. CCUS, we've got reservoirs out there. They're depleted. we can push CO2 into those. And again, we've got the drilling technology, we've got the subsea technology. We're so good at it. In fact, as you know, we not only do it in the North Sea, we export these skills and capabilities worldwide. So it's all happening here. And when you look at Scotland, something like 70% of the developments potentially coming up in Scotland within 100 kilometres of Aberdeen. We've got the hydrogen going on here, so we really are the epicentre of all things low carbon energy, Stephen, no doubt about it. And the thing is, when you talk to people, they say, oh, you talk about the oil and gas supply chain, oh, but we need a different supply chain for renewables. It's exactly the same supply chain.
So David, as you know, at NZTC we work very hard to try and help startup companies, especially in the clean energy technology space. It's a very competitive space, and there's no God-given right for the northeast of Scotland to actually attract those types of companies here. So if I was a startup business in clean energy, maybe hydrogen or offshore wind related, why would I choose Aberdeen as opposed to maybe Copenhagen or Amsterdam or Paris as the place to come and locate my business?
Yeah, well, we've got 50 years of supply chain activity been going on. We've developed skills and technologies over those 50 years that are applicable to oil and gas. We've got companies here and individuals here that are so good at technology, doing stuff with floating, whatever it is, floating wind, floating oil and gas. It's all there, sensors underwater, cables, connectors. It's all happening here. We've got two great universities, a fantastic college here. We've built up the capability and skills over 50 years, and we can apply that knowledge and understanding to new starts. And alongside that, companies like yourselves, ourselves at ETZ, we work together. And it's great to have you as partners with the new incubator we're creating in the Energy Transition Zone. Really, it's fantastic working there with Mark Anderson. So we've got a really joined up ecosystem that can apply fantastic support to new starts. And combined with that, we've got markets that have been created worldwide. So we've got companies here that can market products and services, for new starts, help them develop prototypes. In the incubator, we've got the National Manufacturing Institute of Scotland. So not only technology, but helping companies make things more efficiently using cutting edge technology to help manufacture stuff, lower cost, and 3D printing, all that type of thing. So bringing that all together, like in the new incubator you're partners with that we're creating, we can really help the supply chain, or certainly the supply chain, but also help the new starts. In fact, the incubator, the focus is on innovation, entrepreneurship and growth. That's the mantra. And combined with the other activities we're doing in the Energy Transition Zone, hydrogen testing demonstrators coming. We've working with ORE Catapult. We've got the National Floating Wind Innovation Centre. That'll be opening in early 24. We've got Skills Academy. We've got the National Energy Skills Accelerator. We've got a whole bunch of stuff going on. Bringing that all together, we've got a huge amount of stuff we can apply to new start companies. Absolutely. So TechX is a great example of your accelerator. We'll be hooking up with other accelerators and tempting them into the incubator. And there we've got a real good blend, 3,000 square metres of industrial space, collaboration space, meeting rooms, the NMIS workshop, some desk areas too. But the focus is on taking products and ideas from people's heads in their back gardens and garages, taking them through prototyping and into commercial reality.
That sounds really exciting. I wish you all the best with that. Thanks, David.
Thank you. Thanks very much, Stephen. Great to be here. Thanks again.
Today I'm with Mark Anderson, who is the Net Zero Technology Centre's Chief Acceleration Officer and TechX Director. Welcome, Mark.
Thank you, Stephen. It's great to be here with you today.
TechX is a fantastic accelerator program that we've been running almost since the beginning of Net Zero Technology Centre, and it's really gone from strength to strength. We're currently looking for our 6th cohort, and Mark, I'm really interested to know how that is going, what we're doing to recruit companies to join the 6th cohort, when the process application deadline is, and what they can expect if they're successful.
Thanks, Stephen. Yeah, so we are in the midst of recruiting for cohort 6, and applications opened in July, and they close on the 1st of October. And that's for cohort start at the end of February next year. So the cohort will run from the end of February until early June next year. So these startups get a fantastic opportunity to join the TechX program. They get offered up to £1,000 in grant funding, and it's essentially a startup boot camp. So they get so much opportunity to meet new customers, potential customers, to get investment, and they also get trained on legal issues, on accounting issues, how to develop their technology further and faster, how to grow commercially, how to find the right team members. So it's a great opportunity for any clean energy startup in the TRL or technology readiness level 2 to 6 range. These startups can be pretty much anywhere on the planet, and they need to have a clean energy technology with their own intellectual property behind that. And these technologies could be in renewables, they could be in clean hydrogen, they could be in digitalization, CCUS, and also decarbonised heat and cooling, and lastly alternative fuels and green chemicals. So all of these technology areas are in scope for us, and these startups, they may be spin outs from universities, and we're in the middle of a sort of grand tour of the UK's universities to try and unearth these startups and attract them to the program. And they may be just people starting them independently from corporates or whatever. So there are lots of sources for these startups, and it's our job at the moment to unearth these startups and attract them to the program.
That sounds fantastic. I mean, you mentioned the size of the prize is £100,000. So is there any equity take in the program? I mean, how does that work? Because most accelerators have some form of equity give to the accelerator program, don't they?
Yeah, absolutely. So what we ask for these startups is if they do really well, then we ask for the money back, but not for a few years. If they do even better, we ask for a bit more back. And some of them, as you say, actually would prefer us to take equity. So we sign advanced subscription agreements with those startups. So under certain circumstances, that £100,000 would convert into equity, which we would then hold. So that's what we're trying to do, is not to make a profit, but we're trying to create an evergreen fund for these startups.
Super. Let's talk about some of the examples of companies that have come through the program successfully and gone on to do fantastic things. So I'm sure you've got one or two that just stand out in your mind as great examples.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we've had 57 startups come through the program. 55 are still trading, which is a fantastic sort of track record. And there are lots of standouts, but to pick a few, we have Motion Energy. They have a wave energy conversion device. So that's using wave power to generate electricity to power directly offshore assets. They came onto the program in 2019 with a device that they could, a model of the device that they could carry in their hands, weighed a few kilos. Fast forward 4 years later, they now have a 38-ton device which is in the sea, being trialled at the moment, and it's generating power to power a remotely operated vehicle subsea. So that's an extraordinary sort of success story for Motion, but they're still very much on the journey. They're an Edinburgh-based company. They're employing well over 20 people. They make the press all the time, but they're not yet commercialised. They're still doing trials. They still need government help and industry help on their journey. So that's one example. Another example is Mission Zero Technologies. They have a direct air capture technology. This company was founded in 2020 through our partnership with Deep Science Ventures. They then came onto our cohort 3, and they now have investment from Bill Gates' Breakthrough Energy Ventures, which is obviously a fantastic achievement. And they also won a $1 million Elon Musk prize to turn CO2 into rock in the Amani Desert. So in 2 years, they've come an awful long way, and we have high hopes for them. But there are many others. There's Ship, which has a fantastic technology to turn seawater into green hydrogen. They were founded in the Netherlands, but they've opened an office in Aberdeen now, and so they're developing their technology here, which is great. So that's what we want to attract. We're trying to attract companies from the city and shire to develop their technologies here, as well as companies from overseas to set up shop here and grow their technologies in the region too.
And I think that's interesting because there is an international competition to attract these innovative startups. So you have to have a really good reason, a good compelling USP. Why come to Aberdeen and Aberdeen City and Shire to do this when you could maybe do it in Amsterdam or Copenhagen or Stockholm? So how would you respond to that? I mean, what would your compelling reason be?
Yeah, I think Aberdeen in this region, we are the sort of hotbed of energy in the UK and in Europe, and the opportunity from the oil and gas assets that are out there, the offshore wind, the floating wind, and the hydrogen CCUS now with the announcement with the Acorn project. That's a tremendous base from which to build, and we've talked about the funding, we've talked about the expert tuition, but there's all those industry partners out there. These are potential customers, potential suppliers that can help these startups develop. When you start up a startup, you need a lot of help. You have a very small team. You may be on your own. You may have founded it with one or two others, but you need a huge amount of help because it's a really challenging journey. And it's the support system here that we can offer, I think, gives a fantastic opportunity for these startups to grow. I think one of the other things is once they're out of the TechX program, we have TechX Growth, and we help them further. We give them free co-working space here in our offices, but we also co-fund projects, and Motion Energy being one, but we've co-funded many other TechX alumni to help them grow further. They need to be doing field trials, and that's something that we at the Net Zero Technology Centre can help them with.
Thanks very much, Mark. That's a really compelling story. Great results from the TechX program. One last thing before we close is you're based here in Aberdeen. We've worked across not just Scotland, the UK, the world, in fact, attracting companies from all over the world to come here. What's next for TechX as a program? How do you think this can grow and scale itself?
Yeah, thank you. I think TechX is a great brand, and we've now run 5 cohorts. I think we are really up to speed with what startups want and how to support them and grow them. And I think with more government support from the Scottish and UK governments, we could do a lot more in the UK and possibly abroad too. So, clean energy is a highly growing area. There's a lot of opportunity to exploit. Can we encourage more startups to be spun out of universities? And I think we can. I think TechX can help with that. As we transition into a hydrogen economy, I think so pure play accelerators like a hydrogen accelerator or a CCUS accelerator could come to the fore. We can help with that. So I see a lot of opportunity for rolling out TechX, the TechX model, to benefit the UK economy as a whole and to help scale up these deep tech companies. These hardware-based companies, it's not the same as a software-based company. These hardware-based companies need a lot of support. They need patient capital. And I think this is something that TechX can really catalyse in the UK.
So, Mark, one of the things that really interests me is that the International Energy Agency have said that we probably still need about 50% of the technologies that we need to transition to net zero don't exist yet or are nascent. So there's a lot of work to be done in the clean energy space. How do you think TechX actually contributes towards that?
Yeah, it is a great question. Thank you, Stephen. So, yes, the IEA thinks that to get to net zero, their central projection, half the technologies that we need don't yet exist or aren't yet commercialised. So they haven't been invented yet, or we haven't got them to the point of widespread adoption. And certainly, a lot of these startups are going to be coming from startups that have yet to be formed, but also startups that are in existence now. And it's that latter category that we can really help with. So these startups, they need support to grow. They need support to develop these technologies to a point where they've been trialed, they've been tested, and there's confidence in the industry that they work and that they can be widely adopted and save those greenhouse gas emissions. And we really need this. But it's also a great opportunity, of course, for Scotland, for the rest of the UK, to export these technologies and to help other countries reach their carbon reduction targets as well. So, it's a job creator, it's a wealth creator as well. So it's a fantastic opportunity, and we need more of these startups, and we need to develop them more quickly.
Well, I wish you all the best with it, and good luck to everybody who's applying to Cohort 6 for the TechX program, and I'm looking forward to seeing some of this really exciting technology coming through. Thanks, Mark.
Thank you, Stephen.
Hi, I'm on the NZTC stand, and I'm joined today by Carlo Procaccini, who's the Chief Technology Officer at the NSTA, the North Sea Transition Authority. Very happy for you to be here, for you to come and visit us, Carlo. I've got a few questions because I noticed that the NSTA have just released the latest version of your emissions reduction report. It's a yearly report. So what's the report telling us? Where can people go to find it?
Thank you, Stephen, and thank you, NZTC, for having me here today. We just 2 days ago, we released the latest emission report, and we can see encouraging continuing trends in emission reductions upstream oil and gas. And this means that the industry has reduced emissions compared to the 2018 baseline by 23% to the end of 2022. That is a great achievement. And certainly this has come as part of the proactive actions that the industry are taking. This really sets the industry on track to achieve their emission targets that are set as part of the North Sea Transition Deal.
And what are those targets, just for the listeners who might not be familiar with them?
We have a 10% reduction by 2025, 25% reduction by 2027, followed by a 50% reduction by 2030. We should become a net zero basin by 2050.
So the 2030 target is quite important. It's a big milestone, the 50% reduction. Are you confident we'll meet that?
Yes, I'm sure. But first, the trends need to continue. So there needs now to be, we need the industry to scale up their engineering efforts towards all modifications on their platforms, towards energy efficiency, towards upgrade of their equipment, so on and so forth. But also we need to tackle emission from power generation. And those can be tackled if renewable sources of energy are brought to the play. So if basically what we call electrification of the platforms. We know that there are a few projects and a few important projects being planned, but we need these projects to actually be sanctioned very soon and delivered before 2030 to hit the 2030 50% reduction target.
And of course, not all platforms can be electrified. Some might need to use alternative fuels to power them. So any kind of ideas or perspectives on that?
Indeed, alternative fuels might be an important part of the mix. Also, if you consider that there are a number also of mobile installations, and there is also logistics to take into account when considering our emission. So therefore, alternative fuels, e-fuels, are certainly going to be an important part of the mix. I know that the industry is looking seriously at that, and I know that they're working with you, Net Zero Technology Centre, on the topic.
Yeah, we've just completed a project with Siemens Energy demonstrating how biomethanol can be used in a gas turbine, and it was a very successful trial that we've just recently had. Just going on further forward then, I know that technology is obviously everything that you do at the NSTA, you're focused on technology in your department, and you've recently produced a report, Technology Driving Green Growth. What are the key areas of technology development that we still need to focus on according to that report?
Yes, indeed, there was a great collaboration between the NSTA Net Zero Technology Center and was delivered incredibly well by your team and Accenture. The key findings are that in the transition, we need to find technical solutions and technology solutions that allow us to scale up the energy transition net zero solutions to hit our targets, and at the same time to achieve the cost efficiencies that are needed for the transition to be affordable. The key areas highlighted in the report, for instance, are to reduce the energy penalty of the various processes, for instance, carbon capture. How can we reduce the energy penalty from capturing the carbon dioxide produced by combustion sources? But certainly going into the transportation and sequestration of the carbon dioxide, how can we come with effective but at the same time cost-efficient techniques for the measurement, monitoring and verification of the storage of the carbon dioxide? Moving to hydrogen. Certainly hydrogen now has a significant cost gap versus, for instance, natural gas and fossil fuels in general. How do we reduce that gap, particularly when we talk about electrolysis and we talk about green hydrogen?
Super. And lastly, Carlo, there's been a lot in the press recently about the award of licenses, and I guess it's quite controversial. What I really want to know, however, is that NSTA has a big role to play in the energy transition. What's your perspective on how you as an organisation can help drive emissions reduction and ensure we have an integrated energy system in the future?
Yeah, sure. First of all, let's start from our regulatory role. We are a key regulator in the carbon capture and storage part, awarding and managing the licenses and awarding permits for the offshore storage projects. And then in hydrogen, very recently, just this week, the government has given us the remit over offshore hydrogen transportation and storage. So therefore, we are key players. We can influence the industry and, in fact, regulate the industry to come up with robust plans and effective plans to ramp up this very important energy transition net zero solutions. But of course, we also have an important role in reducing the emissions, the direct emissions from upstream oil and gas. And I mentioned before, the industry is doing well. The industry should be doing more, of course. But then again, is an area where we are putting also pressure. And you mentioned the licensing, and you mentioned the new projects. And particularly on new projects and new licenses, we are absolutely clear with the industry the new developments to be energy efficient, emission efficient, and as much as possible net zero.
Super. Thank you very much, Carlo Procaccini. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Stephen.
Thanks for listening to Transition Talks. You can listen to all podcast episodes on our website at netzerotc.com. Please subscribe to gain instant access to new episodes. See you next time.